Justin, again, we appreciate you and Weiler Engineering, the excellent work you've been doing for us. And we wanted to get an update to the leaseholders and to the board members that are not here as what the status of the sewer program is. As we've discussed, a number of leaseholders correctly are questioning, the work's getting done and what has been done. So as we discussed, first of all, phase 1 is completed. Phase 1 was what?
Phase 1 primarily consisted of an assessment, testing all the manholes, testing the lines, testing the lift stations to see if they would meet Key Largo's criteria to be connected. We performed static tests on the manholes and all of the gravity lines in the park, as well as the lift stations. Key Largo's criteria allows for a drop of 0.1 gallon per head of foot per hour on any manhole, pipe, or lift station, which is essentially like having a brand new manhole. Every manhole in the park failed, we know this. That essentially completed phase 1 of the assessment. Moving into phase 2.
Well, before you get to phase 2, just for a point for the board and to leaseholders, that kind of closed the door for us in terms of making sure by doing that work, we knew the work that was done previously was not done to the specifications and contracts that were submitted to the previous board. So phase 1 is completed, and I would like to add, the person who did, or the group that did phase 1 was Brian. And I, for one, and many of the leaseholders that assisted me the week they were out here were very impressed with Brian. I'm bringing this up for a reason as we get into the phase 2 delay. And I think Weiler, who recommended Brian, would agree that Brian is an outstanding contractor. Is that fair to say?
We kind of anticipated Brian starting the project and moving right into phase 2 and continuing with any repairs that needed to be done.
Okay, so before we get into phase 2, what happened then, Brian was here in front of the board a number of months ago and agreed to do phase 2 and start on phase 2.
Right.
And they gave, as we now find out, a very competitive price. But doing our due diligence as a board member correctly pointed out that we have an obligation as a board to get 3 bids. And you were at that meeting, and our friend Tom Dillon was at that meeting, and Tom made it very clear to us, yes, that is our obligation. We have to get 3 bids. So the question is, why the delay on phase 2?
Well, we put together bid documents and specifications using what Ed Castle considered to be the approved chemical grout and seals to fix the manholes and pressure testing all the specifications that we wanted. We sent it out to bid to, I believe it was 9 or 10 different contractors. Not all of them bid back. The bids that we did receive were all almost double, if not more than double, what Brian's proposal was. We didn't feel comfortable with accepting that. We didn't think it was a good deal. We didn't think it was the right thing to do. At that time, Brian was incredibly busy with some other obligations on a few different projects that he was in. We wanted him,
including U.S. Navy.
Including the Navy and Disney, and we wanted him to do it. He couldn't do it at that, basically after passing it, it was a few weeks later after waiting for bids and everything. At that point, he couldn't do it. I've since then been in contact with him quite a bit, calling him, emailing, saying how's your workload. Finally, just this week, he's gave me a verbal commitment that he's going to be able to do the job, and I'm waiting for his final cost proposal. In our conversation, I'm assuming it's going to be what it was for the last time we said it 2 months ago.
Okay.
And I plan to receive those numbers later today.
Okay, great. Just to clarify the delay, because we asked your boss, Ed Castle, to come to the meeting, and we brought this question up because a leaseholder who was intimately involved in this process brought up to our concern that the work wasn't being done. And Ed told us, and you had told me previously, that your primary responsibility, you felt, to the board and to Silver Shores was to get us the best price and the most qualified contractor. Right. The time element was important, but not the final criteria. The criteria was to get the best price, the best contractor, and get it done within the time period of what the district requires. Is that a fair assessment?
Exactly right. We wanted to make sure exactly like you said, we got the right guy to do the job for the right price. I mean, we haven't surpassed it. We still don't think we're going to pass. We're not going to miss any deadlines. We're comfortable still with getting the work done.
Okay.
By the right, and now hope finally by the guy we originally wanted to do.
Okay. And if it's not Brian, you'll have a suitable contractor to get the work done for us. the point is that we're close to getting this started. So for the benefit of leaseholders, tell us what phase 2 entails.
Phase 2 is now going to entail repairing all the manholes. We're going to start with that using the chemical grout and this epoxy and grout combination to seal the annular areas where the pipe enters all the manholes, as well as all the collars on all the manholes, and also where the pipe comes into the lift station. That's going to be step 1. After that, we will retest the manholes and the lines, because what we're thinking is some of the lines that failed in phase 1 may pass once the manholes are repaired. That may have been what caused the leak. We'll be able to narrow that down. We may not have to TB 5500, it may be 2500, I don't know, but we will know more after the manholes are repaired.
We'll pressure test as well.
So after we repair the manholes and test everything, we will TB whatever remainder of the pipes that are failed, and in all of the sections that we TB, we will then pressure test. And then if the joints, we'll pressure test all the joints of the pipes. If the joint fails, then we'll have to apply the seal, it's sort of like a fiberglass seal that they blast onto the pipe to repair those.
Okay, great.
That's essentially work 2. And then again, test everything that had failed to make sure that it's going to pass and meet Key Largo's requirements.
Now, part of phase 2, you came to us a couple of months ago and said, you know, on part of phase 2, we're going to send out bids for the 3rd lift station, which we all decided we need the 3rd lift station. And just for the benefit of the leaseholders, we did consider not putting in a 3rd lift station. Your first recommendation, that may be a better idea. But going back to the original engineering, Glenn Bowe, who we already paid for, we found out we had the engineering specs already done, paid for the 3rd lift station. By upgrading the other 2 lift stations and putting the 3rd lift station was a much more efficient way for the...
And if we bought the cost analysis of cost comparison analysis of 1 versus 2 versus 3, and what it was, and at the end of the day, it was all pretty similar cost, but disruption of the park, being able to hook up to a nice clean connection, considering your connection is right there as well, the board decided to go to the 3rd lift station. We think it's the right thing to do as well.
Again, for the benefit of the leasehold, this was a process. This was a time element. And we spent the necessary time to ensure, as Carol Ann just pointed out, she has to work on this, that we wanted to make sure that we looked at all the scenarios to come up with the most efficient way based on your recommendation.
And so after we came to the decision that we're going to build the 3rd lift station, there was some back and forth between Glenn Bowe and us, because we had to modify the electrical requirements. Originally it was spec'd differently, so we had to wait for those plans. We are also waiting for the final approval of the DEP permit before we send it out to bid. It's been out to bid for almost 2 weeks now, and it will be back on Friday. There's 9 contractors that have been in contact with. We won't have a decision until next week, but by next week we will know the pricing and who we want to choose.
And we can let the leaseholders know we did get the DEP permit.
The DEP has been approved.
It's in our file here at the office. But the other important thing that you did, we really appreciate, 3 months ago, or close to 3 months ago, you said, listen, why don't we order the parts for you for the 3rd lift station? And can you tell us what that did for the park by you ordering the parts?
Yeah, we just thought, we have a really good working relationship with the vendor who sells all the parts, because we do a lot of these. And I brought it up that it might not be a bad idea to pre-purchase it to avoid the markup. And then I found out you guys also have a tax exemption, so by doing that you save probably 20 to 30% at least of the price of the materials, the pumps, the floats, the control panel, the dosing equipment in the valve tank, little things like that.
So it's safe to say,
we definitely saved some money on that.
Yeah, without your advice and counsel, the park could have spent another $6,000 to $8,000 or $10,000 additional to a contractor who would have had ordered it for us.